All right, I'm going to call the July 11th special meeting of the advisory board into order. The first item on the agenda is to introduce ourselves, I guess, just who's here. Tanya's not here.
Scott Paul.
Dave Hoganson.
Joanna Johnson.
Lucretia King.
Todd Spellberg.
Okay. The second item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. And then the next item is the update regarding the selection of the subject matter expert for the Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center work plan. That's a mouthful. And I think, Chief, you were going to go from
Yes.
there?
Yeah, so thank you again for attending this special meeting. We'll try and keep it as brief as possible. But I felt it was important to get all of you, get your input on this particular issue before we proceed. So as we had talked about previously, we made a request with the COPS office, Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center, to review our use of force policy and provide input on the incident from last July 8th. So I heard back from them in around June 8th, and they had assigned a subject matter expert and started to put together a work plan. And as I reviewed that, I realized that the subject matter expert was someone I had worked with at Milwaukee PD during my time there. We didn't have any direct reporting relationship, but obviously we crossed paths over the course of my career there. And I've been retired from there since 2011 and haven't had any other direct contact with this individual who's now a chief in another city in Wisconsin. I think he's a good subject matter expert. However, I also understand the concern there might be about having someone in that position that I know or have had a previous relationship with. So really what I'm looking for from the board is just direction. First thing I did do, just so you're aware, is I contacted the COPS office and brought it to their attention and asked them to check from their perspective if there was any issue with that relationship. And they got back to me about a week or so later and informed me that they did not have any issue. And it was really our decision about whether or not we wanted to ask for a change of SME. So those really are our options. We can proceed with this individual, or if you feel that you would rather, I can ask them to assign someone new, and we'll wait for that assignment and then proceed with the work plan from there.
Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. I know that, you did that out of being honest and bringing it to the table, so appreciate that. I do wonder about, and that's what I guess we're going to talk to as a board, if that changes what the perspective might be from the community or other members as far as validity for the hard work that they're going to do. We want it to at least be valid. One of the questions I have was, were they able to reassign that to someone, or would that put you back at the bottom of the list and have to wait for another person, or is this the only person available?
No, well, I doubt that it's the only person. I don't know that we would go to the bottom of the list, but yes, I would have to ask them to reassign it. I think since we've been in this for a while, that we would get some precedent. I can ask them to, try and do that as quickly as possible. I don't know how many subject matter experts they have in each particular area, but I'm sure that they have several.
Just so I understand, I think I understand, but I just want to make sure. So we're discussing this so that the individual who's currently selected as the SME isn't seen as having a conflict of interest.
Correct.
That would degrade public perception.
Correct.
Okay.
I just have one particular question in terms of how is that person vetted? And I think that makes a big difference in terms of how you actually choose a person. Obviously, like you said, conflict of interest or just knowing that person, but that in itself should not be the means by which one would not consider that person. So what other information is looked at which allows someone to pick that person?
Well, I don't necessarily, we're not picking them. The COPS office, so this whole CRITAC operation, my understanding is that they have subject matter experts in a variety of fields who are currently, and some may be retired even, in policing profession, and they have certain areas of expertise. And so they have volunteered to be part of this project and work with the COPS office in these particular matters. So kind of really, I think just raising the bar in professionalism, and I think it also is beneficial. I participate in a number of boards and committees as well as part of the profession, so I think that's just part of, again, professionalism and integrity in what we do in the policing profession. So the COPS office, I'm sure, has some vetting in terms of what they would consider a subject matter expert in each particular field. I don't have that information. I could certainly ask them about that. But they select these folks based on the volunteers that they get, and they do, I'm sure, a background and look at their level of expertise, and then they assign them out to work in certain areas. And this is, so they're volunteering to be part of that. I don't think they're paid in any consultant way by the COPS office. I'm not certain of that either. I don't think so, but actually I'd have to ask them that question. What they do then is, as we've done in some of our Zoom meetings, is we describe the problem, we ask for the assistance, and they come back and assign people that they feel would be appropriate for that particular project and develop a work plan. And so when they sent that to me, they had already selected this individual. Now they hadn't assigned it to them yet, because obviously as I read through that, I contacted them, and you know how email is, it takes a few days to get this back and forth response, but I wanted to wait for them to vet it on their side first, and it really comes down to our decision. And so I guess our pick is we asked them to select someone different, and then maybe there's a way that they can contact me and make sure before they make another selection it's not someone that I know, and then we can move forward with it from there.
Yeah, personally, I think transparency is something which this community is very sensitive about, and obviously, the more trust we can garner is more effective that they see that there is this degree of transparency.
Right, and that's why we're, like I say, I hate to bring everyone together on a summer night, but I thought that was the important piece of this.
That's the first goal on the collaborative reform initiative is
Yes.
build trust. And so if this chinks away at it from the very beginning,
I agree.
what's your gut say?
Well, my police gut says this is a very good SME, but my chief gut tells me that we should get somebody else,
Okay.
regardless of how good this person might be. But it could delay a little bit, and so that's why I wanted to bring that before the board.
Chief, this project is voluntary on the city's part? We've asked for this?
Yes, yeah, so the Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center, CRITAC, they offer a number of services to law enforcement agencies across the country. They've got a whole array of different things that they do, technical assistance, reform initiatives, community policing initiatives, and it's one of the mandates of the COPS office, Community Oriented Policing Services Office, which is part of Bureau of Justice Assistance, U.S. Department of Justice, all the federal acronyms. And so they offer quite an array of these different types of services. And all you really have to do is make a request. They do vet the request. I'm sure that they don't accept every request because I don't think they would have the ability to staff. As an example, shortly after, I think it was January, late December, early January, when we made our request. And so we had some meetings, and then Memphis happened in March. They're heavily involved in Memphis right now, so I'm imagining that a lot of their SMEs are in Memphis in a variety of ways. And then it really took till June for them to assign somebody. So I'm guessing they're probably better positioned now, but again, there could be a short delay, but I'm sure I can ask them to try and speed that up and maybe, vet the name with me ahead of time so that we don't have to spend any more time. But
Sure.
you know, the answer tonight makes it easy. If it's, you know, that we want to try and find someone that doesn't have a pre-relationship, I totally understand that. And then I can continue to go from there until we get someone assigned.
Well, we all know that perception is reality in things like this. So even if there isn't a conflict of interest, there could be the perception of it just by the fact that you know him. I would also guess, though, that at this stage in your career, you know quite a few of the other senior leaders. The community might be a little smaller than we would expect. Is that right?
Well, yes, having spent a few years here, I do know a lot of folks, and I am involved in a lot of these other boards and things of that
Yeah.
nature. So, again, I think, but I'm sure that we can also find someone that I haven't worked with, you know, had I guess maybe a longer relationship with. You know, and at the end of the day, also, and transparency is important, but all of these folks have their own personal reputations and integrity to protect too, and they're not going to do something to impugn that.
So
Absolutely.
Chief, were you, just more information, would you say you were friends and, did you vacation together, or did you just work together on professional
other's
projects?
weddings or
I mean, what was the relationship?
Yeah, no, just professional, but we crossed paths in a lot of ways because both of us were involved in training, you know, and then just working at MPD in our various capacities. But no, not anything of a personal nature other than I would consider us, you know, colleagues.
Okay, and now, when the SME is selected, my understanding is they're selected on their knowledge but once they're selected, do they receive additional training before they go and provide a service to a requesting agency?
Not that I'm aware of. I think they just really get the information. So they're provided the information in terms of, you know, in greater detail, here's the situation, and are assigned to, you know, basically there's a work plan that's developed, and then they carry that work plan out. And so they create their product, and then that's completed and provided to us to provide to you as well for your review. And then we kind of go from there.
Well, I think in efforts for FPD to still continue to build trust in the community and the integrity of the board, we should find someone that is completely impartial.
You know, normally I'd agree, but I haven't really heard anything that says he wouldn't be impartial. I mean, your colleagues, you've worked together, but, you know, as you brought up, you've been doing this a long time, and, you know, you've crossed paths with a lot of different people, and if it's just been in a professional capacity, and you've worked together, and you're not, you know, as you would call friends, or, you know, I'm not so sure that I would be uncomfortable with it at all. You know, just, and the reason I say, part of what, and this is the advisory part, I bet I get a phone call or a text every week from a commission member or a different board member saying, where's this at, what's going on? And, you know, we learned about this, about the request you made back at our February 9th meeting. So it's been more than 5 months. And so now there's a perception percolating around that this is really nothing, and so that we need to be aware of that now too. So, you know, one of my issues is can we expedite it in a way?
Any further delay is a negative.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And I can certainly make that request. So, I mean, I think they would do what they could to possibly expedite that.
And would it be appropriate or inappropriate to share this individual's name?
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate because I don't, yeah, I mean,
That's fair.
yeah.
So my opinion would be that if it's going to cause a delay, I would say we keep the current subject matter expert. But if they're able and willing to identify another SME and it's not going to change the timeline, and if they're willing to give you a name before they pick him just to verify that you don't know the guy professionally, then I'd be okay with that. But I don't want it to cause any more delay.
Yeah, and I hear you. I'm in a little bit different spot, whereas you know him professionally, that's perfectly acceptable to me. I wouldn't even see a need to request anybody, I guess, at this, unless there's a relationship between the two of you that I don't know about. And it doesn't sound like there is.
Maybe, I don't know, should we maybe take a vote? Because I'm of maybe the minority on that. I think I'm
Well,
towards what Lucy says in terms of the transparency. Obviously, coming in from the industry, we take that very seriously in terms of when we do business and contracts and things like that. And how do you discern making an opinion why you choose certain companies, or not based on maybe who you might know in that company and things like that, but truly not trying to achieve any type of favorable, giftings and things like that. So,
And we just don't want the appearance in the community that there's some kind of favoritism. So
Yes.
it's best to be someone else.
well, yeah, and they're gonna do they're gonna do the work and put in the effort.
Right.
And I would like that to be, at least to have the validity. So I would be okay with changing the person just, to cover the bases, to make sure that, it's not like, oh, they did this and it was the chief's friend anyway. Of course, they didn't find anything. I mean, I don't even know what they're gonna find, but I'm just saying, like, that wouldn't be fair either, right, to the process.
Right, I don't think we want to spend, I mean, and these are all the valid points, right? I've been thinking about this myself, and we certainly don't want to have them spend time on a project only to find out that at the end, it's looked at as a flawed process, right? So it's kind of a catch-22 situation.
Right.
There's two different things too, like, are you asking the board to vote whether we ask for somebody new? Or are you recommending that we ask for somebody new and then we vote on that? Those are two different things, right?
Sure. Well, I think the reason that I decided to call the meeting is really to get your input. So I think it would be helpful to have direction from the board in terms of, because it's really one or the other. Now, I don't know that it's any significant delay, but I know it could be a small delay in picking a new person so that everyone understands that. Or we stick with the SME we have and also understand that we could have a problem at the end. So I think direction from the board would be helpful there. I mean, I can decide it, but I thought it would be better if I got your input, right?
Yeah. I'll move that we request a new subject matter expert in order to avoid the perception of a conflict of interest, assuming that it doesn't add more than 3 months delay to the project, that we would move in that order.
Is that something that's,
Can be stipulated.
yeah, I mean, is that something doable? Like, can we say?
I think
like-
it's helpful for me, because
Yeah.
if I call them and they say, look, we're 6 months out,
Yeah,
I'm going to stay with what we have and I'll report that back to you, and we'll be on the same page in terms of why that happened, right? I guess, right? I mean, that's,
you think,
seems to make sense.
okay.
Okay.
I guess I hate to speculate, but I think they'll be able to be, yes, I think that's plenty of time for them to get someone, I would imagine, but I don't
Sure,
know
we
their
don't know.
operation,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, just to reiterate then, the motion is, that you propose is that, we look for a new SME, provided that it doesn't, extend the time greater than 3 months. Otherwise, we stick with the person we.
Our advice as a oversight and advisory board would be that we think, based on the perception, we should have a different subject matter expert. Assuming it doesn't take more than 3 months to add, or adds on 3 months to the project.
Right.
Okay.
What do
So should
you,
we take a vote?
what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any, Todd?
We're voting, right?
Yeah,
I want to avoid all conflict of interest at all times.
yeah, okay,
It's never a good thing in public perception at all.
okay. So, are we all right with saying we're okay with switching it, we just don't want to delay it any further because there's also a community,
Perception of
need
that, yeah.
to have it done, right?
Right.
Right.
So are we okay with the time frame component of it?
Yeah, excuse me, Chair, you would want a second on that, just
Yeah.
on that motion that asked for the 3 months?
Right.
And then you would have discussion, take a vote. If that one doesn't pass, if there are issues with the time frame or it doesn't pass for asking for a new SME, then you could ask for a new motion,
Okay.
or amend that motion.
Clarification, Chief, make sure that I understand in terms of the time that you think someone would volunteer. The 3 months which we are proposing is nothing too absurd in terms of getting someone who would want to do this SMEA.
I don't think it is, but again, I don't want to
Yeah, I got you.
speculate on their behalf. I don't run their staffing. I don't really know how that works for them and what the availability is. In my mind, it seems very reasonable. But I suppose it's a chance that it could not be. So I guess that's, again, a consideration in whether you go with this motion or you just say, look, make a change.
Yeah, hypothetically, if we kept the same SME, do we have a timeline on when the work plan would be ready?
I don't, but I know that once assigned, they would start on it. So then we would start to talk about timelines and things like that.
Because if, again, I'm really keenly concerned on the delay. And if, for instance, if we kept this same individual and the work plan was still 3 months out, and then we switch it to another person, and then we start 3 months later, and then 3 months after that, then we're into 2024. And I don't think that would be good. So I guess I'd suggest narrowing that time, try to find a new SME if it creates very little delay, I guess.
So let's do this the way, so the motion.
I made the motion.
Right, the motion, is there a second to the motion? You gonna second? Is anyone gonna second the motion? I need somebody to second it. So I just wanna make sure that I get it right. So the motion that was proposed was a new SME, the board is advising, finding a new SME, and provided that it doesn't have an extended delay greater than 3 months to find a new one.
Correct.
Right, otherwise we would keep that one. Do I have a second to that motion? Is anyone gonna second the motion? No? Okay.
I would like to motion that we just find a new SME and avoid all conflict of interest.
All right, do I have a second to?
I second that.
All right, so then we can discuss again that. So the proposed motion from, I'm just like trying to get all this right from Todd, is to find a new SM.
New
And
SME.
avoid conflict of interest.
Period.
Yeah.
Right, just to reduce conflict of interest. That was seconded.
Even if it adds 6 months.
Yeah, I want it right.
Okay.
Don't build a road in front of my house if you're gonna just speed it through and not do it right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And for the public interest, I think that would be better.
okay. And David has the concern of time, right? And you're being conscious of time too, Scott, I understand that. So
So we gotta vote on it.
yeah, so I guess we're just gonna have to vote on it. So we're gonna vote on the motion that we find a new SME moving forward. Okay, go ahead. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
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 The motion is carried. And we will find a new SME. That's the advice of the board.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for working through that with me. I had the same difficulties that you did, so I mean,
Chief,
it's,
can you let us know of
Sure.
the anticipated delay as soon as you do? Because if we can get that out to the public, they're like hunger for any information in terms of progress or where this is going. And even if we can give them just a little, I'm hearing, you've got other commissions that are still calling for an independent investigation and because of these delays. And so anything we can give them that says we're moving forward, I think will be helpful.
sure, I think we can arrange that.
All right. And then our next meeting is this Thursday, and that's at Carl Ben, at the same, right, location, Carl Ben, and that's at 5 PM. All right?
Yes, and just for your knowledge, we've given greater effort on the social media front. Again, we're trying to encourage people, public, to get there and see this presentation. So we're hoping to have some attendance. As part of the engagement piece and the education piece. It is tougher in the summer. I guess we hope for rain because then no one has anything else to do. But so Lieutenant Hanig and Officer Christon will be there to provide that presentation. I will not be at the Thursday evening meeting, but that is the only item on that agenda as well.
Okay. All right. In barring any further, anything else? No? Okay. I'll call the meeting adjourned.